Hi, Jewish mom. So I want to start off by telling you about a very, very awful Friday, which I had a few weeks ago. So it was a Friday that I was feeling under the weather, um, and um, and so just it was I think it was possibly the first short, like the first Shabbat after the time change, and I was just doing the regular things that I have to do, like the cooking and the sort of like the cleaning things up and getting the kids bathed and stuff. It was just felt like it was just so overwhelming, and so basically in Jerusalem we have a siren. The siren goes off 40 minutes before Shabbat, and the plata was still not out. It was still like up in like the cabinets, and the hot water heater was still up somewhere. It hadn't been filled with water. It hadn't been heated. It was just such a stressful. I just came into Shabbat feeling so stressed out and so overwhelmed. And so I spoke with my husband after that Shabbat, and I said to him, I said, I hate Shabbos. I hate it. And so we sort of talked about it. I realized it wasn't really that I hated Shabbos. I love Shabbos, and I've always loved Shabbos, but the preparations were just it was just getting too much for me. So my husband, God bless him, like the next Friday, he arranged it that I had like a Friday off. But more importantly, I think like sometimes like when you have like when you have a crisis, when things are so awful, the word in Hebrew for crisis is mashber, and that's the same word for like a birth, like a woman who sits on the yoshev al mashber is a woman who's giving birth. And I found that in my life many times that really the only time, like out of crises, out of like the worst possible morning rush hour, the worst possible bedtime, the worst possible anything, the worst possible postpartum period, things have to get really, really bad, and then I really look at them, really take the time to actually make it better. So the most wonderful things in my life have come out of crises. So I assume that a lot of us are having a hard time now with the short Shabbat, with the short Fridays. Rabbi Yemima Mizrahi, she said something which really, really, really struck home, I guess, because of my experience this past week, Parshat Vayetze. She said that she wants to say something, and she said it's something based on her intuition. Is that she's been noticing that there've been a lot of piguin, there've been a lot of terror attacks on Fridays. The French terror attack was on Friday the 13th. I'm sorry. Of course, the Littman family, it was before Shabbat. The Hankins were killed. It was the day before Erev Simchat Torah on Hoshana Rabbah. So Rabbi Imima said, she said, I'm just saying this is my intuition. She said, I'm just like, anyone can say, she doesn't think that what she says has more validity necessarily than what other people would have to say. And also she's not saying that if we had done this, then the terror attacks wouldn't have happened. But she feels like all of these things happening on Fridays and Erev Chag, that these are a sign, these are a message from Hashem that we need to work on Erev Shabbos. We need to work on making Erev Shabbos better, to enter Shabbos with more simcha. She said, for example, like more simcha, more joy, more smiles, putting on music, dancing in the kitchen, at least like making it so that we are not screaming at our kitchen and screaming at our children and screaming at our husbands and being all stressed out and thinking to yourself like how and feeling like I did that terrible Friday when I said I hate Shabbos. Okay. So I thought that was it's a powerful message. And I just want to say something again. Something amazing which I learned this past Thursday with my dear Chavruta Efrat. We learned the Netivot Shalom together for many years already. And so what we learned in the Netivot Shalom in Parshat Vayetze was something I just thought it was so gorgeous and mind blowing. he says that that the soul comes from a very, very high place, a very spiritual, elevated place, the world to come, and enters this world, which is such a which is such a physical place, and such a can in potential be such a low place. So when the soul comes down, how does the soul still gain access to the holiness and the elevated and the spirituality, the elevation and the spirituality of the world which the soul comes from? It's through be'erot. It's through the wells. You know how like Isaac was digging wells? Well, these are the wells. In this life, we have wells. And something interesting is that my friend Efrat, so she actually named her son. She has a son named Be'eri, whose birthday I think possibly is today. And she named him after this Netivot Shalom. She thought it was such a beautiful concept. Be'eri means my well. So Hashem created be'erot, created wells in our lives, so that we can reach past the low physicality of this world towards the elevated spirituality of the spiritual world, of the world to come. And there's three wells. There's Torah, learning Torah, of course. There's prayer, connecting with Hashem that way, and there's Shabbat. Shabbat is one of those wells. So the Netivot Shalom says regarding Shabbat, he says he says when someone wages war, when an enemy wages war, then he said oftentimes the most effective military strategy is not actually killing people. It's not actually physically harming people. It's like laying siege. Laying siege just means that laying siege to a city means that no food can get in, no resources can get in. So what is the Yetzer Hara? What is the evil inclination do so that we will not be able to recharge and gain access to the be'erot, the wells in our lives, and especially Shabbos? The Yetzer Hara he lays siege. He makes it so that we are unable to access the joy and wonder and spirituality and elevation and the ability to recharge ourselves, which is inherent in Shabbos. So how does he do it? He makes Fridays difficult. He puts us in a bad mood. He makes all sorts of the Yetzer Hara, all these difficult things happen so that we are unable. He lays siege to Shabbos, because he knows how powerful. He knows that if we really, really get Shabbos, if we really, really can access the spiritual power of Shabbat, then we are set. Then we're recharged spiritually for the entire week, right? So he makes the siege is in part, I'm thinking Fridays is making Fridays short and difficult and stressful. So I just want to talk about a few things which I've been doing in the weeks past that, in the weeks since that very, very difficult Friday. The things which I've been doing to try and make Fridays better. I'm trying to make the entry into Shabbat smoother. And I think like this Friday, I actually had a wonderful Friday. And I think I just want to, so I'm sure like a lot of people are having difficult Fridays, these short Fridays. I just want to tell you some things which I've come up with, some ideas for myself. And I hope that they will get you thinking about what would work for you and what would make your Fridays easier. Okay, so years ago, I used to do something, and when I was having a difficult time with Fridays, and so my friend Efrat actually just reminded me of it, so I just started doing it again this Friday, and it's amazing. What I do is try and do 5 things to spoil myself. 5 things that I'm just sort of like taking time for myself on a stressful short Friday. Like candlelighting this week was 4:03, but I took time to do 5 nice things for myself. 1, I sat down and I read like a serial in one of my from magazines. I love the fiction serials that they have, like the stories that they have. Okay, I did that. I sat down, I drank a cup of Chico, which is like non-caffeinated coffee. It's a very nice thing to do. I went out and I bought myself a salad and a roll, and like I sat down, actually took the time to make a salad. I watched Rabbi Imima's class on the internet. If you're interested, www.ashira, ashira.co.il. It's only in Hebrew, I'm sorry. I don't remember what else I did, but these are just all just everyday, because otherwise I find like I just got into Shabbat feeling just so like I'm the martyr. Like I worked so hard and I cleaned so hard and I cooked so hard and got everything all ready and da 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 da. And no, that I'm taking the time every Friday to do 5 nice things, spoiling myself. Even if no one else is taking care of me, I'm taking care of me, and that's the most important thing. And also, another thing which I've been trying to do since the crisis is doing as much as possible on Thursdays. So I decided all the kids that all the kids that I bathe them, that I'm in charge of their bathtubs, I'm doing it on Thursdays, right? That means the baby, the 3-year-old and the 5-year-old are doing their showers on Thursdays, okay? Also on Thursday night, I make sure that the kitchen's completely clean. It's true, it's gonna get messed up again on Friday, but doing that thorough cleaning on Thursday really makes a difference, as opposed to starting Friday with a somewhat messy kitchen and having to clean up before I get started cooking. Something I learned many years ago is, which I'm just going to suggest it if it's shaykh for you, is if you're going to be cooking on Fridays, and I'm recommending to do as much as possible on Thursdays, but if you're going to be cooking on Fridays, then to get the vegetables completely prepared the night before, like chop up the carrot or peel the potato or whatever you have to do. Get everything ready in like a big bowl, and put it in the fridge. You have just have everything done. Then you're just making soup. It's just like that. It's just very easy, okay? And also just doing what you can to make it easier. Just recognizing this is not easy. A Shabbos coming in at 4:03, that is not easy to get everything all ready, so just doing what you can to cut corners. I know, like on Friday, so I had laundry to put. I had laundry which had just been washed, and I had the option. I thought I could take the time now to hang it up. It was a sunny day, I could hang it up, but I thought, it's a very short Friday, and I've been doing a lot of stuff, and my priority is coming into Shabbat with a smile, lighting my candles on time, and feeling relaxed and happy. So I decided, instead of hanging it up, which would take maybe 10 minutes, I just threw it into the dryer. Okay, and also at the grocery store, I noticed that there were some chopped up sweet potatoes. They cost more. They have been pre-peeled and pre-chopped up, and it was silly. Like, why couldn't I just buy the potatoes and chop them myself? I could do that and save 3 shekels. But no, I thought, okay, now my priority is doing what I need to do to be relaxed and happy when the siren goes off at 4:03. At present I have big children who help out with cleaning, but at times in my life I've had cleaning ladies, or I've had hired babysitters to come and help out, like watching the kids on Friday afternoons, and just doing what the reason I don't know whether my suggestions will be specifically helpful to you. What I do hope, though, is that it will help you it will give you the permission to look at your Fridays and say, what can I do? That's what Hannah Jenny did. Well, that's what Hannah Jenny did. What can I do in my circumstances to make my life easier, so that when I have to light candles at 4:03, or you guys probably have 18-minute warning, whatever, whenever candle lighting time is, you're going to, whatever you have to do to be able to light those candles with a smile on your face. And this week, I actually managed to do it. I lit candles on time at 4:03. I heard the siren, I was lighting candles, and I much felt relaxed and happy. Okay, so in conclusion, Fridays now, really hard. Short Fridays. As Rabbini Yemima said, she said nowadays, like, it's like Shabbos comes in at like 8 a.m. on Friday morning. That's like, basically, it's completely not realistic that we can get things done. So, but it's so important that we, in light of the piguim, in light of the terror attacks which have been taking place on Fridays, Rabbi Yemima says how important it is to try and add more simcha, to add more joy, and calm and good feeling to erev Shabbat, like the hours before Shabbat, and the Netivat Shalom. Like, we learned that Shabbos is one of the wells, the be'erot in this world, through which we can access spirituality and to get recharged for the rest of the week. So what can we do? A few things we can do. You can try and choose 5 things. Try and figure out 5 things you're going to do for yourself to make Friday, like, to spoil yourself on Friday. And I just want to say also, something that I've noticed is it doesn't make taking those 15-20 minutes to do the nice things for yourself, it doesn't mean that you don't get to the other things. It doesn't really make sense, but it doesn't mean that then the other stuff doesn't get done, or that the other stuff gets done later, or that you're running behind. It doesn't really, when you take the time to spoil yourself, it doesn't end up really taking time. Maybe it's like calories on Shabbat that don't really count somehow. Okay. So another thing is to do as much as you can on Thursdays. For example, I'm doing showers, cleaning the kitchen, doing as much cooking as I can by the time I go to sleep on Thursday night, and just doing what you can. Give yourself permission to do what you can to make it easier. Get a cleaning lady. For me, putting clothing in the dryer, buying pre-cut vegetables, doing what you can to make it easier. Get a babysitter for Friday early afternoons. To watch the kids, doing what you can, give yourself permission to make it easier, because it's not easy. What we're doing is incredible. Okay, making Shabbos now, 2015, we're still keeping Shabbos. We're still keeping Shabbos. Isn't that incredible? Kol hakavod to you, to me, to all of us Jewish moms who are still doing it. So let's try a little bit harder. Let's try and do it with calm and joy. I want to bless all of you Jewish moms with an amazing, amazing Kol.